Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the English Podcast. I'm truly happy you're here today because we're going to learn English in a natural way, just like native speakers use it every single day. If you've ever watched American movies, listened to podcasts, or spoken with native English speakers, you've probably noticed that they don't always use the English you find in textbooks. Instead, they use simple expressions that make conversations sound more natural, friendly, and confident. That's exactly what today's episode is all about. Today, we're going to explore 10 common English expressions that native speakers use in everyday life. I'll explain what each expression really means, when people usually use it, and I'll give you practical examples that you can easily remember and start using in your own conversations. Don't worry about memorizing everything the first time you hear it. Just relax, enjoy the conversation, and let your brain absorb the language naturally. If you can, try repeating each expression out loud after me. Speaking is one of the fastest ways to build confidence and improve your pronunciation. So, whether you're listening while driving, walking, studying, or simply relaxing with a cup of coffee, I'm really glad you've decided to spend these next few minutes improving your English with me. All right, let's jump right in with our very first expression.
Our first expression is I mean it. This is one of those expressions that native speakers use all the time because it's simple, powerful, and very useful. When someone says, I mean it, they're telling you they're being completely serious. They want you to understand that what they're saying is sincere and honest. It's a way of adding emphasis to your words so the other person knows you're not joking or exaggerating. Imagine that your friend has been helping you through a difficult time. Maybe they spent hours listening to your problems or supported you when you really needed someone. At the end of the conversation, you look at them and say, thank you so much. I really appreciate everything you've done for me. I mean it. By adding I mean it, you're letting your friend know that your gratitude comes straight from your heart. Here's another example. Imagine you're encouraging someone who's learning English. You smile and say, if you keep practicing every single day, you'll become fluent. I mean it. In this situation, you're telling them that you genuinely believe what you're saying.
Perfect! Now, let's move on to another expression that you'll probably hear today if you walk into a restaurant, call a friend, or even ask someone what they want to do this weekend. The expression is, it's up to you. I love this one because it's incredibly simple, but native speakers use it all the time. Imagine you're having dinner with a friend. The waiter arrives and asks if you're ready to order. Your friend looks at you and says, should we get pizza or pasta? You don't really mind because both sound good, so you smile and answer, it's up to you. That's it. No complicated grammar, no long sentences, just 4 simple words that instantly sound natural. Here's another situation. Maybe you're planning a trip with your family. Someone asks, should we leave early in the morning or after lunch? Instead of spending 5 minutes thinking about it, you simply say, it's up to you. You're telling them that you're happy with either option.
All right, let's keep going because this next expression is one that can save you from getting involved in situations that have absolutely nothing to do with you. The expression is, it's not my business. This is one of those phrases that native speakers use when they decide to stay out of other people's problems. And honestly, you'll hear it much more often than you might think. Imagine you're at work during your lunch break. A couple of coworkers start talking about another employee. One of them says, did you hear that Sarah's leaving the company? Everyone starts sharing opinions, but you don't really know what's happening, and you don't feel comfortable talking about someone else's personal life. So you simply smile and say, I don't know, it's not my business. Just like that, you've stayed polite without joining the gossip. Now picture another situation. You're hanging out with a group of friends when 2 of them suddenly start arguing. A few seconds later, one of them turns to you and asks, come on, whose side are you on? You laugh, raise your hands, and say, honestly, it's not my business.
You're letting them solve the problem themselves instead of getting caught in the middle.
All right, let's keep the momentum going because this next expression is something you'll hear whenever someone finally does something they should have done a long time ago. The expression is better late than never. I really like this one because it reminds us that doing something late is always better than not doing it at all. Imagine your friend tells you they finally started learning English. You smile because you've been encouraging them for years. They laugh and say, "I know, I should have started a long time ago." You simply reply, "Well, better late than never." You're not criticizing them. You're encouraging them to keep going. Here's another situation. Maybe your brother finally calls your parents after several months. Your mom answers the phone with a smile and says, "Well, better late than never." She's happy he called, even if it took him longer than expected.
Great! Let's move on because the next expression is one you'll probably use several times today. Our next expression is give it to me. This one is incredibly simple, but don't underestimate it. Native speakers use it all the time in everyday conversations. Imagine you're sitting on the couch with your friend and they're holding the TV remote. You want to change the channel, so you smile and say, "Give it to me." That's probably one of the most common situations where you'll hear this expression. Here's another example. You're cooking dinner together and your friend is holding the salt. Without thinking too much, you say, "Can you give it to me?" A few seconds later, the salt is in your hand and the conversation continues naturally. Awesome! You're doing a fantastic job, and now it's time for another expression that's perfect if you're learning English and sometimes feel a little nervous speaking in front of other people. Our next expression is don't be shy. If you're learning English, I have a feeling you've probably needed to hear these words at least once. Native speakers use don't be shy whenever they want to encourage someone to feel comfortable, speak up, or simply relax. Imagine you're meeting someone for the first time. Everyone is talking, laughing, and introducing themselves, but one person stays very quiet. Someone smiles and says, "Come on, don't be shy." They're inviting that person to join the conversation and feel welcome. Here's another situation. Maybe you're in your English class and the teacher asks a question. You know the answer, but you're afraid of making a mistake. The teacher smiles and says, "Don't be shy, go ahead." Suddenly, you feel a little more confident and you decide to speak. Now it's time for one of my favorite English idioms. This next expression is one you'll hear in movies, TV shows, and everyday conversations whenever someone has to deal with the consequences of their actions. The expression is, face the music. Now, if you translate it word for word, it sounds a little strange. What does music have to do with a problem? Actually, nothing. This is an idiom, and it simply means to accept the consequences of something you've done. Imagine you forgot to finish an important project at work. Your boss asks to see you first thing in the morning. You know the conversation probably won't be easy, but avoiding it won't help. A coworker looks at you and says, "Come on, it's time to face the music." In other words, it's time to accept responsibility and deal with the situation. Here's another example. Maybe a student spends the whole week playing video games instead of studying. The day of the exam finally arrives and they realize they aren't prepared. Their friend smiles and says, "Well, I guess it's time to face the music." Life works like that sometimes. We all make mistakes, and this expression reminds us that the best thing we can do is be honest, accept what happened, and move forward. Great, let's move on, because the next one is much more positive, and you've probably heard it before if you've ever watched a play or a movie about actors. Our next expression is break a leg. Now, if you're hearing this for the first time, you might be thinking, wait, why would anyone tell me to break my leg? It sounds terrible, doesn't it? But here's the interesting part. Native speakers use break a leg to wish someone good luck, especially before a performance, an interview, or any important event. Imagine your best friend is about to walk on stage for a theater performance. They're nervous, they're taking a deep breath, and the curtains are about to open. Instead of saying good luck, you smile and say, break a leg! Here's another situation. Maybe your sister has an important job interview. Before she leaves the house, you give her a hug and say, break a leg! You're going to do great! Or maybe tomorrow is your English exam. Your friend sends you a message that simply says, break a leg! They're wishing you success! Excellent! We've only got 2 expressions left, and the next one is perfect for talking about agreement.
Let's keep going with another expression that native speakers use all the time. The next one is see eye to eye. This expression simply means to agree with someone or to have the same opinion. Imagine you're working on a project with a coworker. After discussing different ideas, you finally come up with the perfect solution. Your coworker smiles and says, I'm glad we finally see eye to eye. That means you both agree. Here's another example. Maybe you're talking with a friend about your favorite movie. At first, you have different opinions, but after a while, you realize you're actually thinking the same thing. One of you laughs and says, looks like we see eye to eye after all. Of course, life isn't always like that. Sometimes people don't see eye to eye, and that's completely normal. Families disagree, friends disagree, coworkers disagree. The important thing is learning how to respect different opinions. Perfect! Now, let's finish today's episode with one final expression that I think everyone deserves to hear from time to time.
Our final expression is, you deserve better. This is one of those expressions that carries a lot of emotion because people usually say it when they care about someone. Imagine your friend has been working incredibly hard, but nobody seems to appreciate their effort. After listening to everything they've been through, you look at them and say, you deserve better. You're telling them they deserve more respect, more happiness, or a better situation. Here's another example. Maybe someone stays in a relationship where they aren't treated well. After hearing their story, a close friend gently says, you deserve better. Those 3 words can mean a lot because they remind someone of their own value. That's why I wanted to finish today's episode with this expression. It's simple, meaningful, and something we all need to hear once in a while. And just like that, we've reached the end of today's episode. Let's take one final look at everything you've learned today. I mean it. It's up to you. It's not my business. Better late than never. Give it to me. Don't be shy. Face the music. Break a leg. See eye to eye. You deserve better. Think about it for a second. These aren't complicated grammar rules or difficult vocabulary words. They're real expressions that native English speakers use every single day. The more you listen to them, the more you'll recognize them in movies, TV shows, podcasts, YouTube videos, and real conversations. Here's one final piece of advice before we say goodbye. Don't try to memorize all 10 expressions today. Instead, choose 2 or 3 that you really liked and challenge yourself to use them this week. Maybe write them down, say them out loud, or even create your own examples. That's how real learning happens. And remember, becoming fluent isn't about knowing thousands of words overnight. It's about learning useful expressions, hearing them again and again, and feeling confident enough to use them naturally. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. I truly hope this episode helped you feel a little more confident with your English. If you're enjoying the podcast-style lessons, I'll have many more episodes where we'll learn everyday conversations, phrasal verbs, idioms, pronunciation tips, and the kind of English that native speakers actually use in real life. Until next time, keep listening, keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and most importantly, enjoy the journey. Take care, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.